Hi mathematicians. Today in our math lesson we are going to be practicing addition and subtraction. Firstly, we're going to discuss the steps of word problems that might have more than one step to them. So at least 2-step problems. And we're also going to have a little bit of time for practice with those multi-digit addition and subtraction problems just to get faster and get our fluency going. And one new vocabulary word that perhaps we have not used so far this year is to talk about an unknown variable. So we're going to talk about that this morning too. So as a quick warm-up and thinking about finding unknown values, I have 3 questions here for you. The first one is t plus 8 equals 10. And of course, straight away, you're thinking t must equal 2. Because 2 plus 8 equals 10. So in this question, the unknown value is represented by the t, okay? Now, 4 equals 3 plus e. So what is e? E equals 1, because 3 plus 1 equals 4. Our last one, 19 equals 10 plus h. What could h be? H must equal 9 because 10 plus 9 equals 19. So sometimes in math, we use a variable to represent an unknown number in an equation. And a variable is a symbol, often a letter, that's used kind of to hold the place for something that's unknown. And the value can change depending on the equation. Because for this one, 4 equals 3 plus e. In this equation, e equals 1. But if I'd used e over here, 19 equals 10 plus e, in this equation, e would equal 9. So the value can change depending on the equation. So that's why it's unknown often. And then we use a symbol or a letter to kind of hold that place and say, we're not sure what this one is. We're going to figure that out. So in the example of t plus 8 equals 10, t is the variable, okay? It's the unknown value, and we've put the t there just to kind of hold that place and say, we're going to figure out what that value is. We don't know it yet, but that's the value we're going to figure out, okay? So just keep that in mind as we move on to multi-step problems, because sometimes, especially when a problem has 3 or more numbers, we may need to solve it in more than one step. For example, here's a word problem. In the morning, 19 students were working on a science project. In the afternoon, 3 students left and 7 more students came to work on the project. How many students were working on the project at the end of the day? Well, it's not just one simple step here. There's a couple of different methods we could use to solve this. So let's imagine one student, Anita, is going to solve this. Her method is to write an equation for each step. So she says, okay, there was 19 students, and I know that 7 more came to work on the project. So I'm going to do 19 plus 7, which equals 26. But that's not all that happened. There's another step. So she says, now I'm going to subtract the students who left in the afternoon. So I know altogether there were 26 students, but 3 left in the afternoon. So I'm going to do that equation separately. And her final answer is 23. So her method is to write 2 separate equations, an equation for each step. It's a good plan. And now we have another student. We have Chad, and he has a different method. He writes 1 equation for the whole problem, and it looks like this. Now, he is using n as his unknown variable, and that represents the number of students working at the end of the day. So he is trying to solve n. He is trying to figure out what n is. So he's saying I started with 19 students, minus 3 students who left, plus 7 students who arrived, equals n. So he has written 1 equation for the whole problem. And now he needs to figure out what n is. So he's going to do 19 minus 3 plus 7, and his answer is 23. So both Anita and Chad come to the correct solution that there were 23 students working on the science project at the end of the day. But they used 2 different methods, and that's okay. You can use different methods. Some of you, when you are facing a word problem that has more than one step, you might use a break apart drawing, just like Mrs. Williams showed us the other day. Some of you might double check your addition using the subtraction. You know how we learned that they have inverse operations and help each other out. Some of you might want to sketch a little picture. Some of you might want to use comparison bars. And probably you're going to be writing equations. And you might write an equation for each step of the problem, or you might write one equation for the whole problem. I just want you to keep in mind that you may need to use more than one step. And so you are going to have to read word problems carefully to figure out exactly what you're being asked, so you know if you're being asked to add or to subtract and what exactly you are being asked. So in this question, our final answer is how many students were working on the project at the end of the day. The problem is not asking how many students worked on the project altogether. It was how many students were working on the project at the end of the day. So you are going to have to be a careful reader as well as a careful mathematician when you work on the word problems today to solve them in possibly more than one step. So you are going to be working on page 29 in your math packet today. And the first 5 questions on pages 29 and 30, are word problems for you to solve. Now, we actually did question 2 together, questions 1 and 2, but I want you to solve 3, 4, and 5. And then if there's time with your teacher in your class or maybe a small group, talk about what methods you used to solve those word problems. Maybe you did 2 equations. Maybe you wrote it in one long equation. Maybe use some comparison bar drawings. Solve the problems and share how you solve them. And then questions 6 through 14, again, we just really want to be working on getting faster and more fluent in addition and subtraction. So that just means when we're faced with addition and subtraction problems with bigger numbers here, like up into the 100,000s, that it's not worrying us or freaking us out. We're confident that we can just start working and solving and do it relatively quickly. So it's just some more practice time. So that is your task for today.